We're trying to hook up Newt Gingrich, but we're going to bring in two of my faves, Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, Steve Moore, host of More Money on WABC Radio. Doesn't give him enough, but we'll use more money if we want. Two things, gentlemen. I want to seize their banking assets, Art Laffer. I want to seize them. I want secondary sanctions. If the banks in all these countries, you know they're there, and we know the names of the countries, from Turkey all the way down. And it's ironic because since Iran started bombing their allies, their banks have become much more open to saying we have assets. I want to take all their overseas assets away. This is like a mafia operation, Art. This is like a drug cartel. It's not only oil, by the way. The IRGC thugs own all these businesses throughout Iran. They put the money overseas. So many of them are billionaires. Right? They're clinging on to that money. I want, besides the blockade, which is working beautifully to stop the oil money, I want a banking blockade. I want a banking seizure. Put it in escrow in the Treasury Department. What do you think?
We have the ability to do that. And when you look at this, Larry, it is a war that we have with Iran. I don't know if the right technical word is war or police action or what have you. But it's a very, very serious issue that we're doing with Iran, and we need to win and conclude quickly. I know from past experience back in the 1970s, when I was in the White House with George Shultz, that we have the ability to find out where the deposits are by the leaders of Iran. And we can find that out, and we can seize them, freeze them, whatever. We can do it for the country as a whole. There are all sorts of things in this arena that we have. I don't know what those are today, but I am sure that the intelligence community is very well aware of how to get to the individuals. We need, Larry, we need to make it very personal and very private and have personal incentives on the leaders of Iran to stop this problem now. Punishing the country, doing the oil and all that, I don't think is going to do the trick as nearly as quickly as going after the individuals. The decapitation that the president did when he first went into Iran was the right way to go. Make it personal, make it private. Reagan did the bombing of Gaddafi's tent, if you'll remember, after the nightclub attack in Berlin. He did that. He killed Gaddafi's sister. Gaddafi, boop, stopped right on the spot. No more problems from Gaddafi. That is how we do it with Iran. You got to make it personal and very, very private. We're coming after you personally and your family. And that's the only way you can actually win these things.
Well, you know, Steve Moore, and to Art's point, Israel's kind of the personnel manager, right? They're taking care of the human resources department, and they know where all these guys are. And President Trump has said, as far as the most recent thugs who have taken over, they're only there because we want them to negotiate. If they don't want to negotiate, then Israel may step in and end their personnel careers as well. But I want to go after the banking. In other words, I really like the Iranian oil blockade. I love that because that's where the money comes from. You lose $400 million a day, Steve Moore, that'll get your attention. You know what I mean? You won't make payroll. Your retirement funds are probably going to go down. Their stock market hasn't been that handy, has it? Now, I want to go beyond that because these thugs, Steve, have taken money out, you know this, and put it in the banks outside, right? Qatar and Turkey and Azerbaijan and who knows, Oman. You know, I don't know where, but they're all out there. So let's gather those billions, too. Let's not let these leaders get away with anything.
Well, look, everyone knows that these leaders are evil and they need to be taken out. And Arthur is right. The question is, how much pain are they willing to impose on their own people? And that's why I think Arthur's right. It has to be personal. But I want to make a point about what happened this weekend, Larry, and on Friday, because it really is an amazing story. We've been talking about this, the three of us, I don't know, for the last month, and predicting that when we get the Strait open and we have a victorious settlement here, that the economy would go crazy and the stock market would go crazy. And that's exactly what happened. And so I'm sticking with my prediction that when this is over, and hopefully it'll be in a matter of days, that we could see, you know, by the way, we're back to Dow 50,000 basically. And we could go to what, Arthur, maybe Dow 55,000, given Trump's policies that are kicking in. So I've turned very bullish in the last week because it's almost like this dying regime is trying to cling to power.
Yes.
But Lord knows how much longer that's going to be.
Well, take their retirements account. It's going to be, S&P is over 7,000. It's a new record.
Amazing.
But we want to make it so that their retirement accounts are no good anymore. That was one of my points, and I think we should really do that. Now, let me, okay, so we've dusted off Iran. We're going to talk later in the show about some of the other problems here. Let me turn to our very good friend Kevin Warsh, who will appear and testify before the Senate Banking Committee tomorrow. A very important testimony, not just in his opening statement, but also in the Q&A. Art Laffer, I begin with you. What key points, what one or two key points do you want to hear from Kevin Warsh?
I will stabilize them. I will stabilize interest rates and bring them down by stabilizing the monetary base and not letting it grow and getting inflation back under control to bring those interest rates down. Pure and simple, that's what I'd say. I'd use the supply side approach to a monetary standard rather than the Yellen, Bernanke, Powell view of trying to lower interest rates by expanding the monetary base, the balance sheet.
That's the balance sheet for people who don't understand the old-fashioned, and Arthur is correct. So let's just get that straight. You want to keep a good hold on the balance sheet so that it can't have exorbitant increases in the money supply. That would bring down, just tell me if I'm wrong, Art, I'm just trying to spell this out. That, in turn, would bring down inflation and inflation expectations, and then interest rates in the market would fall of their own weight and accord. Is that basically right?
Exactly, except for one thing, you use spot commodity prices as your indicator of what inflation is right now. You may even need to shrink the monetary base, the balance sheet, a lot before you can really bring that down. And you would have to shrink it from where it is, Larry. It is way too large right now. But yes, you're exactly right. Control inflation and you'll bring interest rates down.
Well, I think, Steve Moore, I think that Kevin Warsh is quite sympathetic to what Arthur has just said. He'll require some deregulation with paying interest on bank reserves and things like that, which Fed Governor Mickey Bowman has already embarked on. The other thing, Steve Moore, I think the likelihood is Kevin Warsh will seek a smaller role for the Fed rather than a huge central planning, economic agency that is immune from the normal laws of the executive branch or any place. I think he wants to not only shrink the balance sheet, I think he wants to shrink the size and scope of the Federal Reserve. Is that desirable in your view?
It sure is. By the way, I've been saying for 2 years that the three people who are most qualified to be the Federal Reserve Chairman are Kevin Warsh, Larry Kudlow, and Arthur Laffer. So I'm glad that Donald Trump picked from that list. And listen, I don't understand, Larry and Arthur. I really don't. Why would any Democrat oppose this guy? I mean, this should be unanimous in the Senate. Seriously, I'm hearing all the Democrats, because they don't like Trump, may vote against him. Why? What do they disagree with about this guy? He, in my opinion, Larry and Arthur, is the most qualified guy to be in the Fed since Alan Greenspan.
I see...
He's such a spectacular one.
I see some of his Democratic predecessors are already taking pot shots at him. Okay, which is really, including Janet Yellen, Biden's former Treasury Secretary, who was... She's already taking pot shots at him.
That is so beneath her, Larry.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's outrageous. He has more qualifications than anyone, and he believes exactly what Laffer was talking about.
Well, by the way, he was a governor for many years
Exactly.
during a crisis period and comported himself very well. And he's learned the lessons. I mean, he said his testimony, by the way, has been made public already. He has said, for example, how much respect he had for Ben Bernanke during that crisis, even though they may have gone too far. He's also quoting Milton Friedman in his statement. Arthur Laffer, I haven't seen anybody quote Milton Friedman actually in any official capacity in Washington, D.C. for a long time. So I got to regard that as a plus right there. It's like us talking about Arthur Laffer. We're the only ones talking about Arthur Laffer. Nobody in official Washington does, and they should. Nobody talks about Milton Friedman, free markets, control the monetary base. These are good things. I'm looking forward to the Kevin Warsh tenure.
Yeah, the key here is it's not Arthur Laffer or Milton Friedman, it's really Robert Mundell. Robert Mundell was the one who really understood the price rule and how to bring inflation down, and that just exquisite. He was very close with Paul Volcker. Before we go, though, I want to just give you one quote from Golda Meir, if you remember that, and it's on the Iranian conflict today. Golda Meir says, "This war will never end until the Iranian mothers love their children more than they hate the Israelis."
Well, that's interesting. It's a good quote. Golda Meir, great lady. Unfortunately, gentlemen, you have a bunch of radical Islamic thugs running that place. But the end is near.
Not for long.
Banking, blockading, maybe bombing some more. It's coming to an end. You all are right. Laffer, Art Laffer, thank you. Steve Moore, thank you very much. We appreciate it, folks. All right.